Well, as the month of June winds down, earlier this month, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced the unification of Nigeria's FX markets. The unification immediately caused the Naira to lose about 36% of its value. But what impact can we expect for startups and fintechs that operate in Nigeria? Joining me now is Adeliji Olowe, founder Lens Square, joining me via Zoom. Great to have you on the show.
Good to have you, Laddie.
So how would this, unification impact startups, fintechs? And there's a report that, revenue to investors in US dollars, that is gauged, that depends on, what rate, they give at this time. So what impact can we expect, because we know this in Nigeria, fintechs is springing up everywhere. How's this going to impact them and startups?
Thanks, Larry, for that question. It is actually going to impact startups significantly. And here's the reason. Nigerian startups also operate within a global community, and they report their revenue and financial metrics in US dollars. Now, look at a typical startup. Let's say they made a revenue of $1 billion last year. If they've used the old rate, that would be like $2.2 million in revenue. But without doing anything wrong, now going for like 770, you see that going down to like $1.3 million. That's like 40% reduction in the numbers they're going to report to investors. So startups are not happy, and this could have significant impact in terms of their valuation, in terms of how they're going to raise funds, because your metrics, your revenue is a function of the kind of deals or multiples you could get when going to raise funds and what valuation your company effectively is.
And the multiple exchange rate system, did it pose any advantage for startups?
Yeah, in some ways, yes and no. In terms of expenses, right, things can kind of be easier. They can move money around easily. They can have a reduction in terms of friction, in terms of reporting money. They can move in money right down through the official channels. Previously, before now, startups used to find creative ways of if they raise money abroad, they could find creative ways of exchanging that to Naira. Because if you move money in previously, and then you move it through maybe the official channels, then you are going to exchange that to Naira in official ways. So those are some of the creative ways or advantages that startups will have.
What about those the dollar virtual card operators? Will this be a plus for their business? And also, remember, merchants couldn't use Naira cards for international payments. Do you think that's going to work now?
That is going to change the shape of that segment of fintech in a very significant ways. If you recall very well, before FX became very difficult, Nigerian banks gave out in Naira cards, either Visa or MasterCard, that you could use anywhere in the world. And they really work well. But immediately that was pulled out, you saw the rise of the virtual card. Now, banks are coming back to the table. So, for example, you see like one of the top 5 banks already allow you to change your dollars to Naira at a very good rate, right from their for their channels, internet banking and mobile banking. Now, you're already seeing banks right now trying to get back into the market. And immediately they do that, the need to set up virtual cards for either for dollars or in Naira will reduce because there's an additional friction on that. Now, the only thing that these startups can hope for is to look at the time it takes banks to really get back to the market. Because what has happened is that after customers couldn't use their cards online anymore or internationally, what banks started doing was to start giving out cheaper local schemes to customers, because the international scheme previously, even though you could use your card abroad, the banks were making a lot of money in the margins, but the cards were more expensive to operate. Now, once the margins disappeared, banks started using the local cards. Now, it will take maybe weeks or months for banks to be able to get back into that, because in the last 2-3 years, banks have issued probably 20 million local scheme cards. Now, they will have to find ways to replace some of those cards in the next couple of months for them to be able to take advantage of the unification. So in a nutshell, the winners for this will just be customers, because obviously being able to just use your debit card, either in Lagos or outside Lagos, online, offline, is a winner for any customers. Banks will start going back to the international market and finally start making money from using their cards. Of course, the international schemes will be more than happy to get back into the game. So MasterCard and Visa will be be quite happy about this. They're also one of the winners. The losers will include startups, because if you are a startup previously using virtual dollar cards, it's almost game up for anybody, and their investors as well. Local card schemes are also going to find a challenge, because once nobody wants to have two cards on their account, so people will practically swap local cards for local card schemes for international ones. BDCs will lose out as well, because in the time when people needed maybe USD to put in their virtual dollar account, they used to buy from BDC. That will happen as well. So that is what the shape of the market will be. It will change completely. There will be significant winners, and there will be a lot of losers as well.
Right. I can imagine, and I'm sure those virtual card operators will be thinking of how to pivot at this time. Well, thank you so much. It was great having your perspective. Adediji Olowe, founder, Lens Square. Thank you so much, and happy holidays.
Thanks, Ladi. See you soon.